Today's topic, like we said, is about personal care and sustainability. Hi, this is Shruti here from Dialogue Space, and today's guests are Centora's founders, Ambika and Gayatri. Guys, if you would like to just wave to the audience.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
guys.
Hi.
Awesome. So let's just get started. Like I said, today's topic is about personal care and sustainability. Since you guys received the series so well and we got overwhelming amount of responses for the previous sessions, we thought we will continue this series. And as part of the same series, today we have with you Ambika and Gayatri, who will talk to us about personal care. They come from being founders of a brand that is into personal care, which is a lot about package free and comparatively less harmful and very natural ingredients per se that they use for the products that they make. Of course, we will hear more about that from them. Let's just get started. Let me try and understand what personal care means to the two of you. Whoever wants to go first, let's just start from the very base. So, what is personal care and what does it mean to each of you?
I'll start off. So personal care is basically about taking care of the body and the mind.
Right.
So in terms of products, this includes hair care, skin care, like shampoos, face washes, soaps, and the like. So
Right.
that's basically what personal care is.
Right. And Brinda, your take on what personal care is?
Personal care basically means finding ways to take care of ourselves, that is
Right.
every day. So
Right.
it also includes eating well, sleeping well, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle and
Right.
choosing good products.
Right, of course. And what does this mean personally to each of you? Maybe in a single line, if you could say that.
Uh, I'd still say it's taking care of body, mind.
Okay.
That's it.
Cool. Fair enough. That's wholesome in itself. Brinda?
I'd agree with her. It's mostly
Okay.
about taking care of yourself.
I think we all agree on that. So it's about taking care of ourselves, both physically as well as mentally, about the body and the mind. Okay. Now that that's said, we're also talking about how personal care kind of impacts the environment. Does it impact the environment? Because a lot of people are like, hey, when you're talking about personal care, how does that impact the environment? Could you try and elaborate on that?
Yeah, I do believe that personal care affects the environment. So we all know that most personal care products, it comes in single-use plastic. So
Right.
it is encouraged by society to be thrown away, citing convenience issues. So
Right.
this ends up going to landfills, it pollutes oceans, it affects natural habitats. And the
Right.
problem is that problem is not that we are not aware of all of this. We are aware of all of this. We
Right.
know that this is happening. It's
Right.
just that because it's not directly affecting us, we don't see it as a threat to ourselves.
Right. What about you, Brinda? Anything to add?
Yes, and it also includes the kind of ingredients we use in our products, apart from the packaging. The ingredients also need to be environmentally sustainable. Example, palm oil. So even though it's a plant-based ingredient, it leads to a lot of habitat loss, deforestation, and it's a very crucial part of our
Right.
supply chain. But it's a very it's not sustainable in terms of the environmental aspect.
Right.
So even though it's not cruelty free because it leads to habitat loss, right? So
Right.
this is also something to consider.
Right. I think that completely makes sense. Could you also elaborate and kind of give us insights, because you guys come from that particular industry, and talk to us about what are the different products and how does packaging come into this, and what are the different ways in which packaging kind of impacts the environment quite directly and indirectly as well. I think we did put out a couple of posts talking about, how, for example, the plastic bottle, how water is kind of packaged in plastic and it's sold as a water bottle, and it's more about the packaging and not the water itself. So could you draw parallels and try and talk about products in the personal care, in that chain of products? Any of you?
Sure. So the most common products we use almost every day is their shampoos and soaps.
Right.
And at Centora, we have package-free solutions for them.
Right.
For example, we have a soap bar here and they're package free. And we
Right.
also have shampoo bars. So,
Right.
and we also have reusable, we offer our products in reusable glass containers. So after the products are over, you can either choose to store your articles, or you can use it for your personal use. If not, you can send it back to us for the jar recycling.
Right. Ambika, anything to add?
Yeah, so we know that a lot of products, daily use products like toothbrushes are something that are very frequently thrown away when you consider the entire life cycle. So and then other face washes, face scrubs, all of that also come in plastic tubes, which are routinely thrown away because they offer like 50 grams to 100 grams of it, and then you have to throw them away and then buy new ones because they don't take them back. So that is why Centora tries to counter that by using those reusable jars. I'll show you the reusable jars. So this is how we pack the body butters. We pack our face washes also like this. And another aspect I think to consider is also how we deliver the products. So we try to make sure that when we package the products for delivery, we try not to use plastic. So we use newspaper for cushioning, cardboards for cushioning. So I think that is also an important aspect.
Right. I think that's a very important point that you do bring up, because it's not just about packaging of the product, but also when you deliver and kind of present the product to a consumer, it's about how that's also packaged, right? Guys, I can vouch for that. I have used Centora products, so it does come in the newspaper, and they're kind enough to have like a small note that says, have a nice time using it and things like that. So I completely agree, and also, I'm for the entire process. What I would like to try and understand and address at this point is also try and understand where we went wrong. If you actually trace back to our roots, right, all the things that we used, or if you ask your grandmothers, your mothers, and that generation, right, they'll tell you they used like a shikakai for their hair, or they use like turmeric for their face. And those were all like, you use the product and it's done and it's all easily available. But then how did we go wrong when we suddenly switched towards this whole plastic packaging, whole product that's brought to you in a certain manner, and then that kind of goes ahead and harms the environment? Where did we go wrong, and what are we doing to combat that, or is it kind of ingrained in us? What do you guys have to say about that?
So what I'd like to add on here is it also came with the whole aspect of convenience, and these products were also, the whole point is plastic is it's a good invention. Okay, so it offers convenience, hygiene, and it's also very cost effective. So when we started using them in our packaging and manufacturing sectors, it became far more efficient in terms of cost and the processes.
Right. And I also think that plastic is great for storing, delivering items because it's lightweight, it's durable, and in terms of holding chemicals, you don't have to worry about leakage, and if it's toxic chemicals, you don't have to worry about all of that. But I think the problem comes is when you have the culture of disposables. Plastic itself was not wrong, but the culture of disposables that it eventually evolved into, I think that is where the problem is. Single use and throw. I think that is where we started to go wrong.
Correct. I think you're absolutely right. That also kind of also what is important, you kind of brought it up, Ambika, when you spoke about how if it is hazardous chemicals that are being used, plastic is kind of helpful to kind of cover and package that. Could you talk about for the lack of a better word, the ingredients or what you use as raw materials to kind of make these products, and how they could be harmful to the environment, to our skins and things like that?
Okay, so you mean like other products that
of course,
use right,
in general, like the commercial or the mainstream products that we use, as opposed to the package-free and more friendly products that we use, like Centora's products, but something as opposed to that. How are they harmful, or what are its advantages, disadvantages? If you could help us understand that as well.
I think the primary thing has to do with what Brunda spoke about. Definitely palm oil is a huge, we still contribute to the consumption of palm oil to a vast degree. So it is causing deforestation. It is causing a displacement of habitat. So that is one aspect. Another thing is, another thing is cruelty free. So the thing is, a lot of it is sometimes tested on animals, and it's sometimes procured. Some of them are animal derived ingredients that are procured from animals in a not very safe way. So I think that is where other brands and us differ, because we firmly believe in vegan, cruelty free, sustainability, zero waste, all of that somehow or the other incorporated.
Right. Brinda, anything to add?
Nothing much. Ambika pretty much covered most of it. And we are also, when it comes to procuring raw materials at Centora, we are kind of conscious about the carbon footprint that's associated with all the ingredients. That is, a carbon footprint essentially means the number of miles or the emissions associated with the transport of individual ingredients. So we try to source our raw materials as locally as possible, and if possible, we get it directly from farmers and small businesses. So that way, we're also supporting our local economy, right? So yeah. So and we can also have a check on the quality of the ingredients.
Right. I think that's a very important point that you do bring up, which is about, kind of going local, procuring products from people around you and kind of keeping that whole life cycle a little more sustainable. That's an important point that you do bring up. At this point, I would like to ask if you could talk us through what you do at Centora, maybe with the help of giving an example of a particular product. How do you kind of start from procuring the raw material to kind of getting the finished product that we can so awesomely use? Subtle plug-in, guys. They have soaps that are of like variety, shapes and sizes. The SpongeBob ones, I think, are sold out always. But that's a really fun and quirky soap. But yes, on a more serious note, if you could talk to us about any product, about maybe both of you can pick one product each and talk about how do you go about making it. Like, where do you procure your raw materials from? What's the process like? To make the product.
Okay, sure. So I'll
of course, you can keep trade secrets with you, but just the basic process.
Got it. Okay, so I'll start off. So usually Brinda and I go together. So now we can't visit it because of COVID-19 and all of that, but we generally visit KR Market. We go crazy whenever we visit KR Market. It's like we try not to buy everything, because we ourselves are need versus desire. So we're like, okay, restrain yourself. So we start with we sometimes bring our own containers, we bring our own bags, we ask them to put certain raw materials in our bags. Let's take the example of rose powder. We use rose powder in rose and oats face pack. So let's say we procure that from KR Market. So there is this particular shop there that gives it to us package free, and we just have to bring our own container. So he'll just give it to us. So from there, and then we go buy our jars, and then we come back, and it comes down to the mixing process of it. So face packs are very simple to make, but it's because of its simplicity that it's also very effective, I'd say.
Right.
What about you, Brinda?
So I'd like to talk a little bit about our lip balms. This is the first ever product we made. So yeah, of course, we spoke about how we procure the tiny little cute jars from KR Market. And we also get our coconut oil, which is our hero ingredient in most of our products, from local vendors. So we can actually see them, extract the oil out of a whole coconut and all that. So they're that transparent. We get the coconut oil from them, and we have other ingredients we currently source from aggregators, and we're also working with other couple of farmers to get, to eliminate middlemen as much as possible. So yeah, we get our ingredients from there, and we use sunflower wax, which is a vegan wax, as opposed to beeswax that is found mostly in a lot of cosmetic products. So we just, we have a formula for all of our products. So we just measure them out based on proportions, mix them up, and then we pour it inside these cute little jars and let them, cool. That's it. It takes about 10 minutes, but then gathering all the raw materials in place, finding all good quality traders and dealers is a little overhead for us.
Right. Sounds like fun. I had a visual of kind of mixing up things and kind of doing the whole process. Yes. So another thing is I want to understand, when did you personally, as Brinda and Ambika, realize the impact of the products you consume, personal care and in general as well, and that they can be harmful to the environment, and how did that kind of help you to form Centora, or what it is today?
So for a very long time in Bangalore, obviously there's a lot of trash thrown around everywhere. So there are a lot of times that we actually walked past them. We probably stamped on a few of it, and all that. And I personally thought, the local corporation was taking care of it. Like
Right.
they generally clean it, and it was probably segregated and composted, because I assumed that this is what was happening with the trash that was generally thrown out, because there's a wet waste and a dry waste. And
Right.
it happened so that I watched one documentary online. It was called The Plastic Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched it on Netflix, and what happened was I saw a lot of uh, you know countries sending over trash to developing and underdeveloped countries, where they are expected to manage trash, the plastic and the disposables, right? Mostly them, the non-recyclables,
Right.
and it also ends up in oceans and the landfill, obviously. So this was
Right.
kind of it was a kind of an eye opener, because I thought it wasn't happening right here, but then I spoke to a couple of people, and I found out that nothing is getting segregated beyond when they
A
collect
certain
it,
point.
right?
Yeah.
So then obviously I kind of started auditing my own trash, my consumption patterns, and all that, what mostly leads to the contribution of these kind of waste.
Right.
So yeah, and then it went on, like we started consuming mindfully, a little more mindfully.
Right.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. And Ambika?
Yeah, I think so. My journey sort of started earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you spoke about. So it was a cultural thing for me. So my mom is very particular about reusing stuff. She is very very particular about reusing scraps, and so that is how it started. But then when I was like younger, I didn't really like buy into it. I thought, "Nah," So and then as I started using more commercial products, I realized that many of it actually didn't work out for me, or they
Right.
caused breakouts, or they gave adverse effects.
Right.
So and then my mom was like, I told you so, I told you so. So I went back and tried what she told me about,
Right.
and I realized that okay, this is actually effective, and it's cost effective. She's reusing everything,
Yeah.
and it actually makes my skin look better.
Right.
So why not? So that's what drove me to this.
Right.
So primarily about being zero waste, and then it transitioned into more sustainable, more local, and all of that.
Right. And how did that enable the two of you to come together and start Centora, and then, of course, build it to what it is today?
Oh, that's a very
Yeah, I
interesting
understand
story.
it can be a long story, and that would be a totally different interview. But if you could just sum that up for us.
So both of us used to work in the same company.
Right.
We used to work in the same team. We had a project together and everything. So we used to sit very close together, and obviously being of a similar age group, we used to talk a lot. And
Right.
somehow we got to talking about DIYs. We
Right.
started looking up recipes online, and then we bought, I think Brunda bought the glass jars the first time. She gave
Mm-hmm.
one to me or something, and then we tried making the lip balm with the recipe that we looked about and everything.
Right.
And then I'll let Brunda continue.
Yeah, so we started using these, and our friends kind of saw us using lip balms from these cute little tubs. And because it was a lot of lip balm in one container, normal chapsticks usually contain about 5 grams of lip balm, and ours can hold up to 20 grams. So we were using this, and a couple of our friends also asked us to make them for them.
Right.
So we were like, okay, why not? Let's just make it for them and give it to them, because they're not able to procure these raw materials themselves.
Right.
So we shared it with them, and they really liked it. So we were
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, why not? Why don't we make these products accessible to more people? And they also had like really positive feedback regarding these lip balms we were making. So they really loved it, and we had like a lot of flavors, available. People could customize it based on their preferences. So
Right.
it was it's a really fun project. It was a really fun project back then. We thought, okay, let's just try it out. We started an Instagram page, and yeah,
And then
that's
we made everybody in our team like follow it. So that's how it all started.
yeah, that's how
Right.
it started.
I think that's one fun story. I mean, just two like-minded people coming together and experimenting by themselves, and then to build it up to what Centora is. I think that's a great story in itself. But I'm sure along the way you did face a lot. You must have faced a lot of challenges, right? One, as people, if you do think about it, sustainability is in the minority when you compare the population, right? So, what are the challenges you had to face when you entered into this, and what do you still see as challenges as people who are in this particular field per se? Silence,
So the
guys.
first thing I'd like
Yeah,
to highlight here is because we are a small business, it's a little difficult for everybody to discover us, even though
right,
they're seeking out these products, right?
right.
So that is a little challenge, getting people to know about us. That is the
Mm-hmm.
first thing, and two, again, because we're a small business, we have faced a lot of problems during shipping. That is, if it's a long distance journey for the parcel, that time it kind of breaks, the glass jars breaks. So that time, what happened, it's kind of disheartening, because
Right,
every product is very dear to us. So
right.
yeah, we faced that damage during shipping, but we tried looking up alternative packaging. But
Mm-hmm.
because we do not, they have a minimum order quantity, right? And we do not meet those minimum order quantity standards. So they're not willing to manufacture them for us. So that's a little it's an ongoing challenge. We're still looking for sustainable alternatives that can replace our glass jars.
Right,
Anything else you want to add, Ambika?
Probably another minor challenge would be that people are still very resistant to trying out something that is considered vegan for some
right,
reason.
right,
So it's been a challenge to bring this to the conventional space, because everybody seems to dismiss it for some reason. And
right,
even the concepts of zero waste sustainability, even though it has existed in Indian culture for a long time, the initiation of these new terms has really like sort of alienated conventional customers, which we're trying to bridge the gap. So that
right.
is another ongoing challenge.
Right, right. I think, yeah, both of it put together. So the logistics plus the kind of resistance you face from the people could be big challenges. At this point, I would like to bring up the terms that you kind of use. If you could kind of break that down for us as people who might not be in the might not be thinking as sustainability as a lifestyle, or people who might just be, browsing through this whole lifestyle. If you could kind of break down to us, what are these terms? So what is zero waste? What does it essentially mean? Of course, I know personally, and I know you guys also know, it's an entire concept in itself. If you could kind of brief us about like what is zero waste, or what are vegan products, and how these kind of help and impact the environment in the longer run. Whoever wants to take this.
Okay, so I'll start off with zero waste. So
Right,
zero waste is not about, it's basically about minimizing waste as much as you can by using by reusing, reducing. So zero waste is not going to be zero waste at all, because
right,
that's an ideal that we may not be able to reach.
right,
So the idea is to minimize, reuse, reduce as much as possible.
right. Brinda or anyone, what? So as
Yeah,
opposed to
sure.
zero waste, yeah. Sorry, you want to add something?
Yeah, so basically, she covered zero waste. I'll be talking about what veganism is in personal care, what
Right,
veganism means in terms of personal care. So,
right,
a lot of products that we use have a lot of animal derived ingredients, and most of us won't be able to decode this because they use the chemistry terms in behind the
right,
packaging, right?
right,
And
right,
it's a standard in the cosmetic space that you use their scientific terms for those
right,
chemicals.
Right.
So what happens, people are not able to identify these ingredients, but
Right.
yeah, so in general, there's a lot of beeswax and honey in products. There's also milk. It could be goat milk, cow's milk, etc.
Right.
And there's animal derived protein like keratin, and it could be collagen.
Right.
They're used in shampoos so that
Right.
your hair gets protein from external sources.
Right.
And there's also
I think lard.
gelatin. Yeah, lard and
Okay.
tallow is basically it's mostly used in manufacturing soaps.
Right.
And so that's basically animal fat. So these are the most commonly used animal derived ingredients in the personal care space. So
Right.
yeah, being vegan means you just don't use any of these products, and you find plant-based alternatives
Right.
to all these.
Right. And what would you say is sustainability? Like, if you had to define that term, how would you define that individually? I know it's a very personal word, and it might mean different for you guys as individuals and different as a brand. If you could try and break that down for us as well.
So,
Yeah.
so sustainability to me is about the judicious use of resources, using the
Right.
resources in such a way that there is something left for somebody else to use later. So
Right.
I think another word for it would be mindful use of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd second that. It's mostly mindful use of resources and being conscious about our consumption.
Right. I think that reminds me of one of the things that I myself read. The order of kind of prioritizing the use of your resources is in this order, which is refuse first. So you try and understand what are the things you do not need. So to start with refusing, then you start reducing your consumption of things that are not required. Then you start reusing, and then you recycle. Whereas in our common notion of trying to be environment friendly is almost the reverse. We start with recycling and then come to the bottom. So that's very important, and I think you did bring that up. So thank you so much for bringing that up. So from here, what I would like to understand is if you could give us some general tips. This would be a little long drawn answer perhaps, but general tips again for a healthy personal care routine. Of course, this I mean both for health and mind wise. And also, if you could give us some general sustainability tips as individuals, if we want to, take the leap and step into this lifestyle, or as someone who's already trying to, maneuver around this lifestyle. Any tips? If you could break it down separately, start with the tips for the general physical and mental health, mental care, and then move on to the sustainability tips.
Okay, so no, Brinda, you go ahead, no problem.
Okay, so when it comes to picking personal care products,
Right.
make sure you know what you're allergic to, and go through the ingredient list and understand what the product contains. Be mindful about what you're actually going to invest in, and
Right.
see what kind of material it comes packaged in and how they're going to ship it to you, and
Right.
see like how far it's coming from.
Right.
So try to choose local as much as possible, and
Right.
keep a check on the ingredients. But however, it's very important to in the name of sustainability, just make sure that you're not spending a lot of money on buying sustainable products, and or
Right.
somebody selling you all natural products. Just understand what ingredients are present in it, and Ambika, you can continue.
Yeah, so like she said, sustainability is not just about sustainability about the environment.
Right.
You also need to think about cost effectiveness in terms of sustainability. So
Right.
so that is another consideration, and I think Brinda put it beautifully about know what you're allergic to, know what ingredients are there. So I think I think that's really, really important, and I didn't used to do that before. Now I read all the labels, and I'm actually more aware. So I'll just say that have this mindset that you don't take anything at face value, sort of. So research what you buy,
Right.
and make sure it makes sense to you, that the purchase makes sense to you. And in terms of sustainable living, I think there's small things you can do, like carry a refillable water bottle, carry reusable cutlery.
Right.
Uh, um, s- uh, how do I say this? So analyze every purchase based on need versus desire. Do you need it
Right.
or do you just want it?
Right.
So that's sort of a thing. Anything else I'm missing, Brenda?
Try to reuse products or materials as much as possible, like tiffin boxes, carry your own cutlery kit, and shop less. It could be anything like clothes, footwear, or anything else. Just shop less. And yeah, as she mentioned, need versus desire. Just think about it, like, do you really need it? And then go about purchasing it.
Right. And like I said, of course, personal care would be incomplete if we do not talk about, like we said, it's a mix of both the physical health, your body, and your mental health as well. So if each of you could give us a tip that you swear by, or a routine that you swear by, that kind of helps you stay sane and calm, both physically, mentally, and it is also, kind of keeping in mind the impacts that you are putting out on the environment.
Some routines that I follow is I usually have an early morning workout routine. So I think that really helps set your day.
Right.
I think that is one thing. I know it's a little cliched, but
No, but yeah.
yeah, it's cliched, but it works. So
Right.
and then what else would I do? So whenever I'm feeling really down, or whenever I'm just feeling anxious or whatever, I just put my feet in hot water.
Right.
I just soak my feet in hot water, and I'm just like, okay, fine. I'm just not gonna think. I'm just gonna like soak my feet, and that's all I'm going to think about. So it's
Right.
like these little quirks that you can try and experiment with and see what works for you and what makes you feel good. And
Right.
otherwise, I just try to not overthink. So I try to be as productive as possible by not overthinking. So that
Right.
is
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yes. Brinda?
So what I generally do to de-stress is mostly I work out because it kind of makes me feel good. I work out, I dance until I feel good, or I make sure I work out at least 4 to 5 times a week so that it's a good way to tire yourself and relax. So I
Right.
dance, do some yoga, and meditate. I meditate. I make sure I meditate every day, and I journal because I get very anxious too soon. So I journal so that it kind of helps me keep sane. And yeah, and mostly doing what you love is also one more thing for me, because I'm a software developer by day, and during the evening is when I get to spend time on Centora and everything else. So
Right.
for me, it's important to have that balance of uh, staying sane and calm about everything and not getting too anxious. So that way it's like doing things only when I feel like doing and not forcing myself, so that I don't feel that anxiety within me.
Right. Sounds good. We're almost nearing the end. If this entire interview hasn't helped people understand what this whole lifestyle is, if you could break or bust one myth for us that surrounds the whole personal care industry per se, what would that be? One each. I'm
Oh,
getting
you guys
ready.
put me on
What
the
myth are you
spot
going
here.
to? Just anything at the
Like,
top of. Yeah.
This is actually what we are trying to do from Centora as well, that we are kind of busting so many myths that exist in the personal care space. Like people generally market products as chemical free, but they fail to understand that even water is H2O, right? So
Right.
this is something, like it's just there, okay? And people generally come to us and ask us, okay, your products are chemical free, right? So
Right.
it's kind of difficult to break this down to them, saying even water is H2O, and everything is made of atoms and molecules and all that. So that's something, there's nothing that's chemical free, right?
yeah.
So
Right.
that's something.
And yeah, like
Fair
she
enough.
said, we try to actively break these sort of misconceptions through our blogs, through our Instagram stories and everything. Maybe another myth that I'm hoping to break through Centora is that sustainable skincare need not be expensive.
Right.
It can be affordable. So people just have to find it. So it's possible. It's not completely like over the top.
So that's for you guys. Guys, even if you didn't get anything out of the entire interview, we've busted two myths for you today but with these two facts. Finally, I would like to ask, today we are living in testing times and it's unprecedented. We haven't seen something like this for a very long time. How have you dealt with this time? Has it kind of got you analyzing your own brand? Have you seen people kind of falling back on sustainability? And what has helped you kind of stay optimistic during these times?
I think in terms of optimism, I think we have a very loyal customer base. I'm so happy that we do, because during the lockdowns and everything, business was very slow. So we had this scare that, okay, so once lockdowns are lifted, are people going to buy? Is something going to sell? What are we going to do and all of that? But
Right,
uh, as soon as they knew that lockdowns were going to be lifted, we had pre-orders.
right,
So in that way, I think both of us feel the same way. I think we feel very blessed in terms of how it has turned out. We thought it was going to be really bad, but we realized, okay, this approach, this problem solving approach, and trusting our customers has actually been helpful.
right.
And it
And
also
Brenda?
gave us some time to take a break from all these. We generally used to go out and host pop-ups every weekend. We used to do something every weekend, so this was like a much needed break for us.
Right,
So we spent some time just relaxing and thinking of what we could. As we mentioned, we wanted to educate our customers about most of the myths that exist in the personal care space. So we
right,
started working on that. We have a lot of blog posts on our website where we
right,
talk about most of the myths. We did not really want to sell products to people because it's a testing time, as you mentioned, right?
right.
So yeah, so we worked on that, and we also educated ourselves and brushed up a lot more chemistry, and took it upon ourselves to educate ourselves and our customers.
Right. I think that sounds good. I think a lot of people have been doing that, kind of trying to get a little more informed and understand what's happening. And like you said, a lot of people have been trying to kind of chillax and take this time out because otherwise they wouldn't get this break. So, yeah, I think we're all pretty much on the same boat there. That brings us to the end of the session, guys. If anybody has any questions, I think we will try and take that up at this point of time. Meanwhile, if you guys could tell us how we could reach out to Centora in the case that we would love to get those tiny jars of lip balms or your beautiful product. And also, how do we access your blogs and kind of information and education that you're trying to put out there?
So we
That will
have a
plug in.
website.
Yeah,
So our website is called Centora.in, Centora.in, and we are
right,
also very, very active on Instagram. You can definitely give us a message, and if you have any doubts about the products you want to buy, we can
right,
have a chat with you. We can help you find the product you need. And
right,
our blogs are on our website. It's easy to find. So there are a number of different blogs about understanding different terms, about understanding different our own products. So I think people may find that really informative. Otherwise, we are also active on Facebook. You can reach out to us. And if you want to contact us in any other way, there's also our email, centora.india@gmail.com. Did I miss anything, Brinda?
No, you pretty much covered everything. And also, in case you feel like none of the products suit you and you want us to customize something for you, we'll customize them for you.
awesome. Awesome. That sounds good. Ankit, at this point, if you could tell us if we have any questions coming in from Facebook, we'd love to take them up at this point of time. Let's just give it a couple of minutes. Let's give them some time to digest all the information that we've given them as well. If not, then I think I'd like to thank you guys in advance. Thank you, Ambika. Thank you, Brinda, for joining us this evening on a Friday evening and giving us this much time. Thank you for educating us and telling us about the whole ecosystem of personal care and how packaging, not packaging, and the whole ingredients that we use and everything comes up kind of comes together. So thank you so much. I really hope that this session was helpful to a lot of us. It certainly was for me. I've made a lot of mental notes. Thank you so much for giving us this time. And the rest of you, this is an ongoing series. We have a lot of sessions planned for you where we try to talk to change makers who are trying to do stellar work in their own fields. example today was Centora, and we have with us founders Ambika and
How have
Brinda.
you dealt with this time? Has it kind of taught you?
During the lockdowns and
Someone
everything,
playing the Facebook video?
is something going
Okay,
to sell?
there's
What are we going to
some-
do and all of that? But
I was just trying to share the link with
as
somebody.
soon as oh my
Okay.
God, my voice sounds actually very weird when I hear it like that.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for this entire session. Thank you. I hope we stay safe and stay positive. Until then, yeah, I'll see you guys.
Thank you, Shruti. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Bye.
Bye.